Hello, everybody. Welcome out to Board Game Breakfast. My name's Chris Yee.
I'm Roy Kedde.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
We're changing up breakfast here just a little bit, but there are some things that are constant. We'll talk about a few of the changes here in a second.
You know what we're doing is we're changing the whole food pyramid. We're starting over from scratch.
Grains are no longer the basis of everything.
What's the basis? Board games.
Bam!
Veggies?
Fibrous.
Board games equal veggies. That's what I got from
The
this
Dice Tower doesn't
conversation.
support actually consuming board games in your face, just on the table.
Just on the table. All right, so one of the things, though, that is constant is that we have a sponsorship from Pandasaurus Games, and we have a giveaway for you.
We do have a contest from Pandasaurus Games, and this is for Emerge. This is a new game coming from Pandasaurus, basically where you have different islands that are coming out of the water, and there's a whole ecosystem of different animals coming on there. It's a dice placement game. Plays pretty quickly. What was it? It was 2 to 4 players?
2 to 4, 75 minutes is what it says.
75-minute playtime. And also, if you pre-order this game, there's a promo from Pandasaurus as well. But to enter this contest, all you have to do is email us at contest@dicetower.com. In the subject line, put Emerge, and in the body, put your address so we'll know where to send that to.
You'll have to answer the question, how many island levels are there?
Yes, this is a 3D game, so as you build up your volcanic island, there's different levels. So if you check out the game, you could answer that question.
So I get to explore volcanoes from the comfort of my own home without the lava actually getting me?
Right, yeah. Burn off your feet no longer, folks. Pandasaurus is bringing the fun of volcanoes to your home.
How often did you do that before?
You know, somewhat regularly.
Oh, I love those commercials that are like, stop boiling off your feet in hot lava and get
Emerge.
and get a koozie today.
Oh my goodness.
Does this ever happen to you?
All right. Feels good to be live again. One of the things that went up yesterday, because we've been out at Dice Tower East this last week. Fantastic convention.
Yes,
I think
for
we all
sure.
had a great time. Not this week, because it's obviously Wednesday, but in the future at some point we'll do some kind of discussions on East. We'll do the typical most checked out games and stuff that Wendy's got all that data for already. She knows the stuff.
I have all the secrets.
But we'll probably do that here in the future, but not this week, just as we got a compressed time frame. But one thing that went up yesterday, if you've noticed, was All Play put up two videos on the channel here in collaboration with us. One is explaining their new Kickstarter for things that they have, and the other was the equivalent of like Extreme Game Room Makeover.
I want to watch that video. I heard that it was happening, and I haven't watched it myself. I haven't watched all the videos on our channel. I really want to check that out.
It's
Yeah.
basically an episode of TLC.
Yeah, it's like a HGTV, TLC type of a thing.
That's
where,
awesome.
A bunch of people enter this contest. The All Play sponsor to basically do a surprise complete makeover of their game room. It's really touching. It's really nice.
Oh, that's fun.
So make sure to go check that out. And then lastly, before we jump into the segments of the new adventures of Board Game Breakfast, let's talk about the reviews that are coming out this week. As I said, condensed week. But we do have several cool things. Oh No Volcano, the new Phil
What,
Walker
another
Harding.
volcano game?
I know. Ra, the classic Rainer Knizia game. Mike is taking a look this weekend at Unreliable Wizard, which is a slightly obscure game, but it's getting a reprint, I think, from Salt and Pepper Games. So hard to find obscure Japanese game. Mike DeLisio's wheelhouse.
Is that something Mike would do?
I don't know.
Obscure Japanese game?
Right. But it is going to get a wider release, so it's cool. Make sure to check out that review. And then we're also going to be reviewing After Us, which you see right over here. This was very popular at Dice Tower East in the Hot Games table. All right. So we're shaking things up a little bit here, right? We're going to be doing... we still have our fantastic contributors on the Board Game Breakfast show, but we're going to be starting off actually with one of our own segments, and we're changing up the segments almost entirely. So you'll see that we're going to be jumping into something different here. Roy, run it.
right, so our first segment is eye catchers. And what this is going to be is it's going to be something interesting that's going on in the industry, some cool board game that has been announced or is on Kickstarter or is coming out soon. It really can be anything. So we each picked a different eye catcher, and we're just going to chat about them for a little bit. So mine is the announcement of the new deluxe reprint of Kalimala. Now, this is a game that people have told me that I will probably like. I think Chris will probably like it too. And because it's an older game, I don't know if it's one I will ever get to, but because of this new reprint, especially with the Ian O'Toole artwork, I think that it's one that will actually get played and I'll get to appreciate it.
Yeah, it looks like a dry, stuffy Euro game. So
Roy's going to love it.
Yeah,
Your favorite.
But it's one of those. So we've had this in the Dice Tower library, and it just actually kind of got the boot.
Oh, dang. So this is like
Did
new.
it get the boot because the new one's coming?
No, absolutely not. It's because no one's
playing it.
no one's playing Kalimala, and part of the reason that we haven't played it is that it's one of those games that has a 3-player minimum count.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so that was one of Alley Cat's game's first requirements for this reprint was to come up with a 2-player variant.
Interesting.
And so I'm curious because there are some 2-player variant games that work out really well and some are absolutely terrible and we'll never play them. So I'm hoping good things. I remember Architects of the West Kingdom, Chris and I were excited about that one. It had a 2-player variant with kind of an automa deck and it was too fiddly, so I feel like we played it twice and we were like, nah. Never mind. Too much work. We'll
Yeah.
play
Oh,
other
cool.
ones.
That's what the old cover looked like.
Yeah.
It was so I took
Sketchy.
the edition or the copy that we took out of the library. I took it home and I was like, oh, I'll try this at some point. That 3-player minimum count kills it for me. Like it's
Yeah, you're like, who do we invite over?
Not
like,
Roy.
Zatanna, you want to play?
you want to play this tan-looking game, kiddo?
You're 7. You can hack it.
I'm worried for her. I'm just kidding. So much beige in the future.
I do wonder what kind of board game player she'll be as she emerges into herself.
I feel like most of the games y'all play with are very colorful, so you're playing off of brand there. So
Yeah, they're kid games.
Not too many beige kid games.
you're right.
Yeah, get on it.
Ian O'Toole.
Ian O'Toole. See, look at this cover. Ian O'Toole does beautiful beige.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a good trio of things. Alley Cat usually has really good production.
Yeah.
Fabio Lopiano is a designer I really enjoy. Ian O'Toole, graphic designer I really, really enjoy.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah. So to go to Kickstarter Q3 of this year.
That's soon.
Yep.
This year is trucking along.
All right. My
What's yours? What's yours?
My eye catcher is this. This is I've muted the video, unfortunately.
This is an episode of Community?
So Joel McHale, right, one of the main actors. It's a very ensemble cast, the show Community, but a show that I really love. He was brought in to do an advertisement for this game called Doomlings. Doomlings is one of those card games. It has cute illustrations, and you play stuff at each other, whatever. But Tom and his kids did a review for this.
Yeah, I remember that.
A year or so. Yeah, that's right. You edited all of Tom's reviews. You'd know. And I don't think I'd particularly love this game or anything. Sounds fine. I think one of his kids gave it a 7, which is better than most of the games that look cute but have very little promise to them.
Sure.
But having Joel McHale come in here and be very much Joel McHale, he doesn't even talk about the game at all. He just kind of makes fun of the fact that he's being paid to hold his board game in his hands. I'm sort of a D-list celebrity, and I'm holding this game. So that means you should buy it, I guess.
Is this the one that they're turning
hasn't
in?
played it, hasn't
Are they
anything.
turning this into a trading card game or something like that also?
Oh, I don't remember.
I think this is the
actually.
one
I
that
don't know.
Tom said that they were changing into a trading card game as well. So it's like Doomlings.
Oh my goodness.
I can see, because I think that they're putting out a big
push for this, right?
big push. I mean, they have hit. I don't think he's the only
D-list.
celebrity-ish kind of person they brought in to do stuff. But this particular commercial, I have no affinity, I have no connection at all to Doomlings. I haven't played it.
Yeah.
But this commercial was really funny. I definitely thought it was worth taking a look at.
That's awesome. Well, for me, mine is news that the one of one ring for Magic the Gathering's been found. And one of the things I thought was funny, they immediately got it graded, and it's not a 10, it's a 9, which is, it's mint, but it's a 9. So it's like, oh, it came out the pack, but the printing is like not the best of the one copy of one ring. So it's like, oh, I couldn't even make a 10. But yeah,
how many carats of gold does it have in it?
it might as well be made of straight up gold because the guy who found it said that it was a life-changing moment for him.
Oh my
and when you
goodness.
pull something out of a pack that's worth over $2 million or around $2 million, like holy smokes.
Did he sell it?
I don't think it's sold yet. I think he's still holding on to it. He immediately went in and got it graded and like certified and made sure it like was real, so that way he could like
Oh my goodness.
legitimize the card, you know, because there's so many people out there. I mean, I printed off a fake one, being like, haha,
Right,
that's
right.
a joke, you know.
Right.
Before the packs even got released.
Right before
you
the
put
packs even got
picture,
released, and they're like, that was
got
easy.
it.
Anyway, I'm a dork, but another thing is like people are like wondering like, is this set dead? Those collector boosters might slightly go down. I mean, I know they're going to go down in value, but those collector boosters were ridiculously expensive. I played in the pre-release. I've gotten some Magic here and there. I have never actually bought in the packs where you could even find this in. I mean, the Lord of the Rings set as a whole, I think is just fun to play, just for the mechanics of it and stuff. So I'm sure that the fever pitch of people buying some of it will go down, but the products that people play with, this card was never actually in that much. This is just like the collector stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Right. I imagine no one's sitting there going like, can't wait to play the Elvish language ring in a tournament, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
They
that
would-
card's interesting anyway, what the card actually even does. And it's kind of funny because like you don't know what this card does based off of this version of it because it's in Elvish. This card was never going to get played.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So it was just a lottery ticket in a bag. So
Mikau has a comment here that says, I heard that you need to be a hollow to get a 10, to a 10 rating, or what do you call it, grading?
it is slightly
Is it
holographic.
holographic?
I guess it has gold embossing. So interesting.
Huh.
But yeah.
I don't know. This type of thing is odd to me because I'm just not a collector.
I'm not a collector
Yeah.
either. Like I would not even think about holding on to this for a second if I found out. I'd be like,
Oh my gosh.
who wants to pay off everything? You know,
All kinds of debt, gone.
Remember your friends, right? No.
that's like having a check and not cashing it, right?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
held on to it, it's
Which
like,
I have
look at the
done.
check I have. I'm just gonna hold on to it.
It's signed by Tom Vassell. It does make me wonder. I feel like, from everything I've heard, the Lord of the Rings set is a good set. Like,
Yeah.
it's a good as a Magic the Gathering set. It's a fun theme. It fits really well. But yeah, people have been going bananas for this.
And it is pretty fun to just play the game in general, you know, like the Magic stuff and seeing all those characters. I mean, me and Z and Tom have gone through and looked at a bunch of the Commander decks and looked at a bunch of cards and just be like, oh, it's Gandalf, oh, it's Pippin, oh, it's Saruman. It's just interesting to see all of that stuff in the game and playing with it. Those characters are just kind of fun.
And that's your favorite IP of all time, right?
Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings. I
Yeah.
love Lord of the Rings in general, so I've played this with my kids as well, too. It's just fun to see those characters. I do bet that this is going to get bought by some crazy like YouTuber or somebody expensive, and they're going to crack it open, throw it into a volcano, like just for the video views.
Mike Heller was saying you should throw it into Oh No Volcano.
I know, exactly.
I'm
I don't
gonna-
think it'll go down the pachinko thing that well.
I'm going to wait for Emerge to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just drop it in one of those newly formed islands, too. Like, buy my own private island in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, with a
Yeah.
volcano on it.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the little volcanic islands.
I bet that real estate is pretty cheap.
I'm
Like
willing
active
to bet.
volcano, yeah.
Yeah, but my great-great-great-great-grandchildren, by the time that volcanic activity stops, they'll have a sweet island to go live on.
Do your taxes
There you go.
increase if the island expands in size over the time that you own it?
Do you have taxes on an island in the middle of the ocean?
Yes. You have taxes
To yourself.
To yourself.
everywhere. All right, I think it's time for some contributors. What do y'all
I
think?
invented bureaucracy on my own private island.
Let's go.
Hello everyone, it's Stella here.
And Tarrant from Maple University and the Dice Tower.
Have you played a game and as you start playing or reading the rulebook at least and you feel it just sounds a bit strange, but then you play it and then as the game goes like, oh, this is actually clever. It's different, but clever.
Indeed, this is perhaps the situation with this new small bidding card game, Big Tops. So, in many ways, it's just a conventional auction game. There'll be cards that come out, you'll auction around the table, and you will pay the first bidder if you win the auction, or the first bidder will pay the bank. But where the game has an interesting extra mechanism is that every card has a bunch of little numbers on it in circles, and you have to complete this card to score it. And to complete it, you need to, at some stage, make each of these bids. It doesn't matter whether you win with that bid or not. It just gives you these specific numbers that you benefit by bidding. It's a very interesting little little auction it's a new twist on auction that I've never seen.
And you don't lose your money if you don't win the auction, but then you just want to at least say, well, you have to have the money behind the screen, and when you bid that amount and you cover it, then you cover everything and you take it, and then that's scoring. And then there's some cards with scoring and then some others with scoring opportunities that give you another type of scoring.
Indeed.
That is Big Top, so check it out. And the artwork is also by the Miko. The game is by All Play, and it plays from 3 to 4 players. So check it out, Big Top. Thanks for watching.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today, we're looking at Enola Holmes. So, what you're going to do in a turn, if she is here, she's going to look at these icons, 2 fire and 2 crown. Her character gives her 1 fire, so she already has 1 of the 4 required. Then she'll look through her deck of cards and see what will help her. In this case, maybe she can play 1 to 3 cards, so maybe she'll play another fire. Then it'll go back to the character that's there. They can look at their hand, and they can play up to 2 more cards. If all the icons match or exceed, the puzzle will be discarded because you accomplished it, and the clue will come out. So in this case, we got a falsehood. So what's happened up here at the top at the beginning of the game is the criminal has chosen from the clue cards crimes that he wanted to put up there in a certain order. So we got a clue on falsehood. So if one of these cards is falsehood, he has to reveal it, but only 1. If there were 2 falsehoods up there, he'd still only reveal 1 card. They're going to make a guess. So right now we do falsehoods there and despairs there. They can go ahead and make a guess. And what they'll do is they'll write it down on the notebook. And then, as we did in this example, the criminal person will tell them how many of those are correct. Well, they know 2 is correct. So let's say this answer was 3. They know 1 more of whatever they wrote down, but they may not know which one. You're going to play 4 rounds. At the end of 4 rounds, if they have not guessed it correctly, then the criminal wins. If they do guess it correctly, then the players at the table This win. game really does bring the series to the board gaming experience. You're going to get all the characters. They're all unique and have a little bit different of a mix-up. You have the bad guy coming at. It's got the flowers that you're using throughout the series, but it has that cool clue vibe to it of trying to deduce what's going on and deduct, this is blah, 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 blah. You're kind of figuring things out. It's a pretty good recourse for the show, bringing the IP in it together in what is a very solid experience for our family. My daughter is a huge fan of this series, hoping to see more of these so she can enjoy them. This is one I can easily recommend based on the IP and the mechanisms matching. Great job, guys.
All right, we're throwing a top 10 list into Board Game Breakfast. You heard it here first, folks. I don't know where else you would have heard it.
Is that 2 5s? What?
2 5s?
2 5s, way up.
That's not how 10s work. I guess, mathematically, yes. But our top 10 list, what we're going to be doing here is we've combined forces. Our brilliant minds
Yes.
forces.
have worked together. But the best that we could do was to come up with 9 items for this top 10 list. So you, as the chat, are going to have to submit your own, and that'll be the number 1 pick, actually.
We'll pick one of those to be the number 1 pick.
We'll pick one of those, yes. So today's top 10 list topic is the top 10 bad excuses for losing at a game. Top 10 worst excuses. So we've each come up with several. We're going to be going through our own. And then we want to hear yours in the chat. We'll go through and we'll pick one as the coveted number 1 spot. Roy, what is your worst excuse for losing at a board game?
This I want to know.
So number 10 worst excuse for losing at a board game is my dog ate my point token.
Of course.
I mean, I lost my point token's gone. It fell on the floor. The dog ate it.
Right.
That's true. You probably
Roy, what
were
are you
winning.
chewing on at the moment?
Nothing, don't worry about it.
The number 9 worst excuse for losing at a board game. I know winter cleans up in your house, and I just don't know how you want your game packed up.
So you throw
so
the
you-
game so you don't have to clean up the
You
game.
don't have to clean up?
You have bags, you have inserts, you have stuff everywhere. I don't know how to clean up Candyland, okay? It's all you.
I want to know whose house says winner cleans up the game. That seems like a loser's job.
Read.
Oh my goodness.
It's always the loser that says that.
That's fair. All right, my number 8 is that Chris washed my lucky socks. I can't win without my lucky socks.
I would never be accused of
When
doing anything
you
kind
play
for
games
you.
with luck in them, Wendy?
Chris washed my strategy socks.
My thinking socks.
I can't do math without my math socks.
Okay, for number 7 here. Wait, I thought it was the lowest score wins.
The classic golf blunder.
I know.
yeah,
The golf joke is so overdone. Is this golf scoring?
See, I did music in high school, and music is the same way. Ones are better.
Ones are better. Oh, like when you go to
Superior
when you go to
excellence.
competitions.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'll tell you what, golf has ruined everything.
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 Especially high numbers.
Yes. All right, the numbers and tennis has ruined any semblance of scoring. The number 6 worst excuse for losing at a game. I just play so many games, I can't be good at all of them.
Oh,
The
okay.
humble brag.
Right? Man.
You just
All
want
right.
to punch me in the face after saying
Oh,
that, don't you?
100%.
Yes.
Okay, number 5. Now, Roy, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm allergic to dice combat. I just am.
You break out in hives? Or?
I break out in hives. You know how people get shaky when they get like sick or whatever? Instead, I just get stuck. Like the dice won't come out of my hand. It's terrible.
Oh yeah, that sweaty palms, the
They
dice,
just they just stick.
sticky dice syndrome.
It's that sticky armor I've been using in Zelda.
We should play more Zelda. All right.
Ooh, Zelda. And for the number 4 here, how can I be a sore loser if I win? Gotta go rage on somebody. It's like, if I win, I can't be mad.
Number 3 worst excuse for losing at a board game. Hashtag good teacher.
Oh, okay. Dig it. Number 2. Now, I didn't want to say anything about this earlier, but the sun was kind of in my eyes. That's what happened.
Unfair home player advantage. Got it.
Right?
There was just a glare on the board.
Oh, so bad. I couldn't read anything. No numbers.
Let's see what some of the chat has come up with here. Which one do we think we should pick for the number 1?
Let's scroll through. Bum.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's Wendy's favorite.
Yeah, game is just
The
random.
game is just random, yeah.
Dog ate my pawn.
Yeah, that's mine.
Someone's copying Roy, which I think is probably a good idea.
Okay, I wasn't paying attention to your rule teach. That may or may not happen in real life.
You were droning on, yes. The Dice Hate Me is classic. Yeah, going for the low blow, below the belt, the cheating claim.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
all cheated.
I had to go to the bathroom, so I couldn't focus, yeah.
I think this one's funny. I'm losing. Oh, my wife called. I gotta go home.
Yeah.
Bye.
I like Mike's. I broke out in pips.
Oh, a bad case of the
is
pips.
it?
Yeah, it's at the bottom.
Oh, this one.
There we go. I broke out in pips.
Broke out in pips.
So which one would you like to say is the number 1, Chris?
Let's see, make sure to read
Ooh.
through all of them.
Ooh, I was just trying to build your self-esteem. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's a good one. I vote David. Change my vote.
I actually like Luis's here. I can't win if you guys don't play according to the competitive meta.
Oh.
All right. Roy, as you led off this week, how about you? You get the final vote here, and what takes the coveted number 1 spot?
I think this one's funny too.
Oh my gosh! All right, throw it up there so everybody
Okay.
can see.
My excuse is I wasn't playing my favorite color, therefore lost.
Ding, 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 ding.
That always happens.
Multiple
Listen,
people at Dice Tower East. I was like, "Do you have a preferred player color?" And they were like, "Blue." You know?
There is a real thing about like if somebody's playing the color you normally play and you start like moving their pieces or you're looking at their pieces for your strategy a little bit, there is something behind that.
We played some games with a friend, and I don't know why they swapped their own colors with each other when we played at our house, but we got like a third of the way through the game, and they're like, no, we have to just fix it. We have to change it. So they swapped back. So we had to move every piece, put it back where it belonged.
It was
like blue and green, I think.
It was like a Gaia project, Terra Mystica type game where like a player color is like intrinsically tied to a player power color.
Yeah.
So it's something like that. And they were just like, nope, we're going to mismatch because they kept moving each other's pieces. I think that this is a mix between legitimate and also
Kind of like
figure it out. Yeah, you're just yellow this time. You can remember that. All right, there you go. So that is the top 10 worst excuses for losing at a game. I wasn't playing my favorite color.
Happy breakfast, everyone. I've just got back from UK Games Expo. I've got a number of games from there. I played lots of games, but I'm here to give you a couple of tips for upcoming conventions that, well, I made a small mistake on. Food in a convention hall is always going to be expensive. I definitely should have popped to, you know, a local supermarket and picked up a meal deal and then taken it into the convention hall. You might want to check if you can do that at all of the conventions, but you certainly can at UK Games Expo or Essen Spiel. But that would have saved me a, well, bucket load of money, effectively. For drink and some food for lunch, it was about £10-12 in the convention centre. Well, first of all, you're saving money, which could go towards a game, and also you're going to avoid some queues. Now, this is a very big one. If you're queuing in a convention hall for food, you're not wandering around, you're not buying games, you're not demoing games, and you'll lose a lot of time. Certainly on one of the days I was queuing for, or waiting for the food for a good 30 minutes. And it felt a real sort of detractor from the experience. So my advice, if you're going to a games convention, is to take food in with you if you're allowed. More money for games, more time for gaming. It's a double whammy. And it was a crazily good expo, at least I thought so. Some absolutely amazing games on show. The latest hotnesses were probably After Us and Earth, which both sold out pretty much instantly both days. But let me know what was your UK Games Expo experience in the comment section below. And until next time, have a great breakfast.
Hi everybody,
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
from Ryan Bethany Board Game Reviews.
Today we are timely talking about summer camp because it is, in fact,
Summertime.
that's right, and the living's easy. But also, in this game, this is a deck building style game where you are trying to complete as many badges of merit as possible. Merit badges. I've said that weird, like bag of holding or something. You can tell we don't have a lot of sleep going on around our house right now. But basically what you're trying to do is trying to get these badges by going through these paths, finishing them off as fast as possible in order to get the most amount of victory points. Your deck building, you are kind of starting with a main deck of cards, but you're also adding in the cards from these various merit badges. They'll have their own deck that you're adding in. And you're trying to race across the board to get the most points.
I went to summer camp twice, and one of the years was awesome, and we rode horses, and it was so much fun. And the other year was one of the worst experiences of my life. My leader, whoever's in charge of us, hated me so much that at one point the other girls that were in my troop area were like, "We don't know why she hates you so much, Bethany." They literally said that to me because that's how mean she was to me.
So, back to summer camp, the board game.
This was
summer
fun.
camp, the traumatic experience.
This was like the first year of summer camp where it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was a light but very, very charming deck building game. This is a game that we're going to break out every single summer. This is the kind of game that we're going to be able to play with our kids. It's replayable because there's so many different badges that you're going for. Each one of them acts a little bit differently. So maybe one of them focuses on these little snack bars, which are basically the way that you can get energy, which is your purchasing power in the game. Maybe one of them focuses on drawing cards. Maybe one of them focuses on going as fast as possible through those various tracks.
Yeah.
So they're all different, and they all add to the replayability of this game.
And also the replayability, the grid that you're walking across is a 9x9, these little tiles. and it changes. You can arrange that any way you want.
You guys, we had a lot of fun with this one. It is super cute. It's light, but you know what? Sometimes that's right. It's just right for a summer evening.
Everybody, if you want to hear more from us, make sure to find us on YouTube. We are Ryan and Bethany of Board Game Reviews. Everybody, this is Ryan and Bethany. Hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
What we do here is go back.
All right, we're gonna go old school with some old school games. And today, we picked Eldritch Horror as the game to talk about. I know this is a game that I played a ton of back in the day. I was super excited when this came out because I played a ton of Arkham Horror. And then you guys said you played a bunch of Eldritch Horror as well, right?
Yeah, we never had played Arkham before.
No, in fact, I remember going to Little Shop of Magic back in Las Vegas, and we were looking through their like rent-a-game section, and one of the guys was really helpful. One of the guys that worked there, really helpful. He came through and he was like, "Oh, these are some really cool games. This is Arkham Horror. It was really awesome, but Eldritch Horror is where it's at."
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think we played it when it was like 2013. Like, it was new and we didn't realize it was new. And we rented it and we brought it home, and I remember reading the rule book in the card and reading all the thematic stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, this is what we're gonna play." And we played it, I think, 3 times in 2 days or something like that, because we had a 2-day rental.
I felt like when I played Arkham for the first time, I didn't know anything about like the Cthulhu mythos or like Lovecraftian horror stuff at all. And like I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then by the time Eldritch Horror came out, I was like, I got this. Cthulhu, this guy's a jerk and all this stuff. Like it was interesting to get into. And the fact that this is like globe-trotting and stuff like that, you still had the same sort of characters, but it was kind of like a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more like solid. And Eldritch Horror is still kind of wacky sometimes, some of the stuff that happens. Lost in time and space, But yeah, it was just fun. I really enjoyed cooperative games. Like, cooperative games just made me dive so deep into board gaming, and stuff like Eldritch Horror and Arkham and all that stuff were like huge part of that.
I remember one time we had a friend of ours. His like given birth name is Q.
Wow.
Just the letter Q. His dad named him after the Star Trek character. And so...
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Q is a huge nerd, by the way. You kind of have to lean into it when your name is Q. So he... I'm surprised computer systems even allowed a one-letter first name.
Right.
Like that's anyway.
It's amazing.
So I remember realizing that I was not as knowledgeable about Cthulhu Mythos stuff, because I was like, oh yeah, cool. We learned pretty much everything we knew from playing Eldritch Horror, Elder Sign, stuff like that. And I invited him over. I was like, hey, I've got this cool game, and I wonder if you'll like it. And I explained to him what it was. He came over with like a Sherlock Holmes pipe and like a pocket watch in his
He came
vest and
in
everything.
cosplay to game
100%.
night.
He came in cosplay to game night.
That's awesome, though.
He brought that. I think it's like the same thing that we have, that like original sketch of what Cthulhu looks like sitting on the block. Like, he brought a like statuette there, and he like sets it on the table. He's like, I'm ready.
I love that. If you're gonna, like, these games are so, like, I mean, I don't know that people would say that Eldritch Horror is like grand strategic in any way, shape, or form. But
Oh
like,
heavens, no.
you should go back to the main screen and click the third picture in on that, just because like that's my picture from like back when the game first came out.
Really?
Oh really?
You're the third picture on BGG?
Sorry, let me. Computer's been a little slow.
But what was I gonna say? But yeah, it's just kind of cool. Like, it's one of those games that you have to just kind of go along for the ride with the theme and thing like that, because it's like it's all about just trying to complete those missions and trying to get here and there. But it's mostly just chucking dice and hoping you make your skill checks properly. You know?
Oh yeah. You're
It's
just
this one, I
mitigating.
think, actually.
Best you can.
Right there
Fourth,
with the fourth in.
What's the year on that?
Roy Canada.
I do love that.
December of 2013.
December of 2013, I played this game solo and then posted it to Board Game Geek. I was
Nice.
like, oh yeah, because I was getting it and playing it in. And of course I was like, oh, I took down the Dunwich Horror by doing this thing and this thing. And of course all the comments are like, I don't know that you can play that card with that card, because, everybody's going to make sure you get the rules right.
Oh, right,
but,
right.
But no, it was fun. It was a ton of fun playing, and I was learning how to play it to be able to show it to my friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because, I mean, looking back on this, I don't know if I'm ever going to play Eldritch Horror again. Like, there are so many really good thematic games that have a more cohesive storyline. And I remember
Gotcha.
that's what I missed about this. For one, it was really long, so it is just a big undertaking to play. but
bit to set up.
I wanted something that was a little bit more like Mansions of Madness when I was playing this. And so
Right.
then that came out, and then Destiny's came out. And so I just feel like there are other games that have that cohesive storyline, because I enjoyed the storyline text in these, but then after we played it a couple times, we stopped reading the cards
Oh, dag.
in the turns, because I was like, it's just faster if I just look for the little icons and just
Right.
roll. Like, that took so much time. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it, and it was really great for where I was in gaming at the time, but I feel like we've progressed past that now.
This is one that I've played with my dad a bunch as well. I don't know if he got a copy or if I got him a copy of this, but yeah, and he's gotten a bunch of the expansions and things like that. He'll play it solo. I think it came unplugged. Or it was just black. But yeah, but yeah, I still occasionally, I think last year I played through a game with my dad. We got wrecked, but it was still a lot of fun.
It's one of those games that it can be fun even if you're just getting completely hosed.
Because you're doing it together, right?
Because you're doing it
Yeah.
together, yeah. What is the estimated playtime? 2 to 4 hours, and that's pretty
It's
pretty
pretty long
accurate,
game
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. I cannot fathom playing this at 8 players. Like, I cannot.
I forgot that it went up to 8.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And they did that simply because the original Arkham Horror from was it a 70s or was it early 80s game? The original Arkham Horror
Went up to that high player count.
went up to 8 players. And
The,
so
the
when
crazy
they
thing is
made-
the game where they're playtesting at 8 players is still going on. They actually have never actually finished it, but they know it can be played.
Let's see. Arkham Horror 1987. There you go. It was the
That was
original.
the year I was born. Goodness gracious.
That it was, yeah. So this original one went up to 8 players, and that's why Arkham 2nd Edition and Eldritch Horror and Elder Sign all go up to 8 players, is because of this thing right here.
And then they moved past that, and they're like, we can let it go now.
I think so, right? Because Arkham 3rd Edition, I'm pretty sure they cap
Doesn't
it
go
out at
that
like,
high.
I think they cap it out at like 5 or 6.
6.
6.
Okay.
Reasonable.
Compared to 8.
I still don't want to play it at 6.
No, I enjoy Eldritch. I would play it again at some point, but the mood would have to be right. I think it's one of those things where like that type of experience of game for me has been kind of supplanted, has been superseded by games that I think are more tightly cohesive, story-driven, and just mechanically a little bit simpler, like Destiny's, Mansions of Madness.
They definitely have those vibes and definitely have more story, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that they're just a little bit tighter, but I still have a lot of affinity for Eldritch Horror. 10
for sure.
years ago came out.
Yeah, it's still on my top 100. I talked about it just the other week, just because that I just have a blast with it. I don't mind the crazy randomness in the game. I think it's fun going through all that stuff, and there's just something about it I just find really charming and appealing.
Yeah, I would have fun. You know, I never got to try the Mountains of Madness expansion.
Yeah.
And that's, for whatever reason, that one is so appealing to me. Just have that extra sideboard, more bloat on the table, but for some reason I just want to do
There's
that.
a ton of different sideboards for this. So.
There's the pyramids,
Yeah.
there's...
I've
did
played
one of
I've
them,
played
but I
with
don't remember which
most
one
of
we
that
did.
stuff. Not all together, just because when you do all that stuff all together, it's just
It's unwieldy.
you can't win basically, but
What
it's
was
still
that
fun.
First expansion, was it like Snakes and Prophecies or something like that?
Yeah.
Forgotten Lore was the name of it,
Yeah, it added like poison. and stuff
Yeah,
like that
I just
in
remember
there.
it made it
Had
harder, and I was like, this game
Yig.
doesn't need to be harder.
Yeah.
But the other expansion stuff was cooler.
The good thing about any of the expansions, though, is like you had those when you first got just the base game. That event deck was super thin, so getting any expansion just to make that event deck not have the same cards coming up. Because like you were saying, oh, I don't read the cards anymore. Well, if they're cards you've already read before.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that was the Fantasy Flight model for sure. We looked it up. Game came out 2013. First expansion came out April of 14. Second expansion came out December of 14.
Yeah.
So they
6
knew.
months.
Yeah, they know when they give
Crank
you a
it
stack
out.
of cards this big for each of the continents. Like, you're gonna see those again. So how about you buy these extra booster packs for them, basically?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, a lot of love for Eldritch Horror. A lot of love from me. Definitely most, I think, from Roy. But there you go. That's our old school game for today.
Keeping it old school.
Hey, Board Gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back on the breakfast. This time taking a look at Dungeon Scrawlers Heroes of Waterdeep from Whiz Kids Games. Let's get right to the table and see what it's all about. It brings back some nostalgia for me. First off, the production. It reminds you of being in junior high. It's got this kind of notebook there with lots of drawings on it, There's some drawings on the inside. This brings me back to discovering Dungeons & Dragons back in junior high. It's a real-time game where we're going to take our little pens here and we're going to try to go through this maze. We're racing against the other players as we go through the maze and try to score as many points as possible. And the whole time you're doing this, you're competing. Not only are you competing to try to get to the big bad at the end first, where you can score more points, but also there's a limited amount of coins that are available in the game. But the biggest line out that I love are these mini dungeons. This one, every time we've got a map that has the mini dungeons, I get super excited because this is a deck of cards that we're gonna grab and flip over when you get to that part of the map. And then at that point, you're taking your pen off of the main map and you're doing the little mini dungeon instead. And each one of those little mini dungeons is a cool, unique puzzle. It's going to start on one side and allow you to get through some of these symbols here to score points. And it's got exits on the other side that have different numbers. And each of those numbers are going to bring you to a different part of the map. How do I get to the part of the map that I really want to get to? I need to focus on that with the mini dungeons. But wait, there's more. They also have character cards. Some of them are a little bit more of my favorites than others, but what I like is that each one of these characters are going to give a special power. Hey, so that's Dungeons & Dragons, Dungeon Scrawlers from WizKids Games. This is the Heroes of Waterdeep. There's more content out there, and Jared and I have had a good time playing this, especially at the end of the night. It's really a good competitive two-player game. Until next time, les avez bon temps roulé.
Hey everyone, today on the Plastic Canvas we're turning Brog from Gatefall from this into this in just 2 minutes. Hey everyone, Matt here from the Plastic Canvas and welcome to today's episode of 2 Minute Mini, and today we're painting Brog from Gatefall. So the main thing that I want to talk about in this video is painting minis at larger scales and how that affects the way that you paint, because Brog here is about 120mm tall or just short of 5 inches. So yeah, he's massive. As I was painting Brog, there were two main things that I noticed that were different between painting a mini at this size compared to the size of minis that I usually paint. The first was highlighting and shading. When you're working with minis that are this size, you have really big surface areas to work with, which means that you have more room to be able to transition from your deepest shadow up to your brightest highlights. What this means is that the difference between how dark your shadows are and how bright your highlights are can be much bigger than on a smaller mini because you've got more distance to work with, so the overall contrast that you can get is just so much more. The other thing that I noticed that was different was creating textures. Let's say, for example, that you've got a mini with a leather cloak and you want to make it look scratched and scuffed from battles in the weather. On a smaller scale mini, each individual scratch and scuff mark at that scale is going to be tiny, so you can't really paint them. All you can really do is more indicate what the material is and the condition that it's in. But when you blow it up to this scale, now you are actually painting those individual scratch and scuff marks, so a lot more effort needs to go into creating textures. So if you've painted minis at this scale before, I'd love to hear in the comments whether you prefer painting larger or smaller minis and why, and what you find to be the main difference between the two. And if you'd like to see the full version of this video, where I go into all of this in more detail, then just head over to my channel, The Plastic Canvas, and I hope you enjoy your breakfast.
All right, so welcome to the Dice Tower Archives. This is a segment that I thought, you know what? The Dice Tower has a very storied and full backlog of videos. Why don't we take a look at some of the older ones, some of them from, before our time or before maybe a lot of the viewers have started watching this, and take a look at things. And so I thought, why not kick off this new iteration of Board Game Breakfast by looking at the original episode of Board Game Breakfast.
The OG.
OG. This was, at the time, November 18th, 2013, 10 years ago. Here, I'll see if I can't scroll down maybe and get it to show here, where it was straight up just called The Dice Tower Monday Show, Episode 1. Whoop, there it is.
Monday.
Yeah, Dice Tower
So good to me.
And so in the description, Tom says, "I've picked a name. You'll find out what it is next week." Here he is pouring milk into a bowl, and then it says, "The Unnamed Show." I don't know why the idea of pouring milk into a bowl of components preceded the name Board Game Breakfast, but, you know.
Listen, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I mean,
Gotta do
they
what you
are
gotta do.
bite size. Roy ate one earlier. I mean,
That's true,
Dice.
yeah. You're missing game
you're
piece.
missing
You're
game
scoring
piece,
track.
Oh, the scoring track piece. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
So, oh man, 10 years ago, the Dice Tower.
I remember watching videos like in from Tom's old house like all the time. Like it's like pretty nostalgic. Like seeing there were so many videos and like so many reviews that I watched over and over again. So it'll be cool to go through this segment and see a lot of that older stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of great games. I mean, I know Tom kind of has moved away from, and I think for a good reason, you know, we've moved away for a while from kind of doing reviews and videos and stuff in front of shelves. Mm-hmm. But it is kind of a fun time capsule to look back
love
here.
that, yeah.
Be like, oh,
what's on those shelves?
yeah, Botswana, great game. For sale,
Bruges.
still great. Bruges, Escape, Jaipur, you know. And
Terra Mystica.
the fact that Terra Mystica was on Tom's shelf, that must be review shelf.
Yep.
But Tom, you know, still being himself. I remember that big microphone, that big semi-lapel mic that he had back when they would do top 10 lists. It would be clipped onto his tie, and Z and Sam would, you know, be sitting on his sides and have to talk loud enough
Like
that
into it?
that one mic would pick it up. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's fun too because I was looking through some of this stuff here. Like Tom's doing the news. So what's different and what's stayed the same about Board Game Breakfast since the beginning? There's been contributors. You know, so
From
you
the
have
get-go.
yeah. So you have a few different contributors. The news segment has moved now to Smorgasbord. So the Thursday live show, but he used to do it here just at the beginning of every episode, talking about the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund. You know, some of these things that still are just the same. It's funny to see that, like, I don't know, there's a cool legacy to the Dice Tower. That
Right.
just,
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
makes me curious. When did Z start doing a contributor show as well? Do you have any idea?
Blender,
Yeah.
the board game Blender.
Quite a bit later, but yeah.
Yeah.
Breakfast went on for a while, but I think it was after, basically just after Z started full time or whatever.
I think so, yeah. And so, some of the bumpers from 10 years ago were
We're great.
My favorite was always
Great.
like the gymnast ones. I
the
don't know.
yoga people.
The
Oh my
yoga
goodness,
people
those yoga people are
going into
so
different
uncomfortable.
shapes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they make my skin crawl.
Yeah, watching the news from some of these older Board Game Breakfast episodes, that was so great to see, like, Red Dragon in 2 just got announced.
Oh wow, yeah.
That, you know, I mean, that's amazing. When you Crossmaster Arena, you know, just like I said, these fun time capsules that these still exist. So different contributors, Steve Avery doing his convention report in nice 1x1 square format.
What are the views on these?
This one has 19,000 views. The
Wow.
original Monday show.
Monday show.
Upcoming games. So I'm guessing that's what stuff that Tom is going to be reviewing in the week. The Push Your Luck podcast here did a whole like speed play of coconuts. Do you remember this was like the big convention game?
Oh my goodness.
You know,
Yeah, because it's so dexterous.
right. What would be the equivalent of this? Like this was always pulled out at every convention you went to.
What do you think the percentage of playing the game versus percentage of picking coconuts off the floor is?
That's fair. I mean,
Pretty low.
Crokinole preceded this, but yeah.
And the Dan King.
The
Game
Game
Boy Geek.
Boy Geek. I'll be honest. His video stuff looks way better than the rest of the stuff on this episode here.
It does. He has actual lighting
Yeah, he's got
going on his face.
He's got that bokeh effect.
Yes, exactly.
Tom
A
has
Star Wars
miniatures.
Attack Wing.
Speaking
Yeah, I
of
haven't
cute,
thought about Attack Wing in like so long.
Right. We still have all of these shelves there, right? All those random
oh
pieces
yeah,
and stuff
all the
that's
random
still in the
piece
hallway.
holders, they exist.
Damien here with quick, easy player aids. Look at that. That's a man's garage there. Not anything like my own. We don't own a garage.
We don't own a
unfortunately.
garage. I wish we had a garage. That'd
Yeah.
be cool. More places to hold our junk.
And BGG Con. What was this one here? This one is Eurogame corner, pushing
Nice.
cubes and stuff, making fun of dice. And yet he's
The
talking about
classic Pathfinder Euro game.
So anyway, it's just fun
That's
to
cool.
like to be able to just go back and see what the original episode of Board Game Breakfast was like. It was titled Board Game Breakfast here by episode 2. But yeah, the Dice Tower Monday show continues on, 481 episodes in.
Nice.
It does.
So that's a quick look at the archives.
Hello, this is Oliver, and today I'm going to be talking about a game that I've played recently, and that game is called My City Roll and Build. In My City Roll and Build, you are, of course, building cities. That's amazing. I never realized that was a part of the game. In the game, you have 3 dice. You roll those 3 dice, and 2 of those dice will determine the shape of your build, and the other dice will determine what type of building you are building, or just mark it with an X or a line or whatever. And yeah, this game is a super fun and easy campaign game, and I really like it. You can take it places anywhere and play with anybody, and you can play it on a little desk by yourself, or you can play it with up to 6 people, which I think is crazy. Yeah, and this game is awesome. I love how you draw on the polyomino things and try to build it in with the landscape and try not to do stuff that would deduct points. I think the idea is super fun. But there are a few downsides to this super fun game, and that's one thing is the components are not the greatest. The dice kind of feel really cheap. They're really light and almost feel like a paper dice. And the boards, they're paper, not dry erase, which I would like it to be dry erase because it feels a lot nicer. And it just feels like they've cheaped out on the components. And yeah, maybe I am spoiled because my dad and we both buy really cool games. And maybe I'm just spoiled, but maybe just to get that dry erase itch, I just need to laminate a few of these pages in the future just to get that itch going. But yeah, you should really check out this game. It is super fun. That's all I have to say. Bye.
Hey there everyone, it's Jen, the board game librarian, flipping some pages and pushing some cubes with my segment From the Page to the Table, where I pair books and board games together that share a common theme. I'm joined by Matt to talk about our book selection today.
Today we're talking specifically about audiobooks only, because these are the great courses, and specifically the symphonies of Beethoven and the life of Mozart. And this is where the lecturer goes through the symphonies of Beethoven one by one, movement by movement, 25 lectures long, but you really get an idea of the historical elements of the symphony, the musical elements of what went into it, how Beethoven approached it, and all the ideas. And of course, the life of Mozart, which is just fascinating and mysterious all at the same time. Goes through all of that as well.
So we are going to talk about Ovation, which is on Kickstarter right now. This is by Looking Glass Workshop, 1 to 4 players, 40 to 60 minutes, and ages 10 and up. So this is an action selection engine building game where you are one of 6 famous composers throughout the classical era, and you are looking to not only do your magna opus, but you are looking to do other things as well. Gain patronage, to compose other symphonies and concerts.
And some of them you need to compose specific types of music in order to compose your magnum opus.
Gain a little inspiration along the way. So I really love the how the mechanics and the theme are really married well together, and the amount of work and research that Kirsten did on her composers and classical music in general. So I always applaud that. So it's on Kickstarter right now. That's all for this week, friends. Happy breakfast.
Bye, everyone.
All right, our concluding segment this time is going to be something we call From the Mailbag. We had questions pour in from the Dice Tower Discord. You know what? let's just turn it over to our mailman who this episode eloquently describes everything without completely, making a fool of himself and having no idea what the segment's called.
Hey there, everybody. This is Mike DeLisio coming to you from the Dice Tower Midwest Annex, and I get the distinct pleasure of kicking off a new segment on Board Game Breakfast. And I don't know what the name of the segment is, but it has something to do with mail, a mailbag, mail carrying, postal parade. I don't know. I'm leaving that up to Chris. He can name this thing. I'm not naming him. All right? That's beyond my pay grade. All right, but here's what I am going to do. I'm going to open up this envelope off camera. I don't have an envelope. Here's the problem. I don't have an envelope. You'd think I'd have an envelope around? I don't have an envelope. But let's assume I opened an envelope, and inside that envelope was my iPhone. And on my iPhone is the Dice Tower Discord channel, which if you have not signed up for the Dice Tower Discord, easy for me to say, let me slow down. If you have not signed up for the Dice Tower Discord channel, it would be to your great benefit if you did, because there's a great community of people already that are talking about games, talking about other stuff. Also, people that are submitting questions for Board Game Breakfast. So, here's our first question. It is coming from Mr. Mandar. All right, and here's what Mr. Mandar asks. There's a lot of talk about real player count for games, quotes. However, with the games I wish I had as a teenager list, I realized that what we see as real player count may be more subjective. Other than playtime, which obviously impacts people differently, what are some of the negatives you see about playing games at the, quote, wrong player counts, unquote? That's a very good question. And I guess, I thought about this a little bit, and the thing that I think is the major problem with games, first of all, games that have an ideal player count or a very narrow ideal player count, maybe within one or two participants, and then having a wider spread listed on the box, is that oftentimes you're teaching these games to new people that have not interacted with this game, maybe don't know anything about the game at all. And you want them to have the best first impression that you can have. You want to be prepared to teach it. You want to, all of these things that we as gamers, especially if we're teaching a game, want to try to do. And one of the things that could happen is if you play a game that has a pretty narrow player count in reality, but lists a much wider one, and you play outside of that ideal player count, is that those players are not going to have the best experience that they could have with that game. And they may well want nothing to do with it in the future. This is especially important if it's a game that you really like and you want to expose other players to. And so if a game is listed at 2 to 6 players, and the 2-player game and the 5 and 6-player game is really not good or plays significantly differently than the 3 and 4-player game, or just the 4-player game for that matter, then the people that you're trying to expose to the game are not getting a very good experience. They're not getting the true essence of what the game could be at its best. And so that's why I think that there can be a real problem with games that present themselves in a way that is not really presenting the best edition or the best version of the game out there. All right, well, that's going to do it for me. Chris, I hope you've come up with a good name for this segment.
I think I'm good with, what do you call it, the Postal Parade?
Postal Parade, let's go postal.
I'm going to be this person, the one that holds the, what do you call the conductor?
Like the
parade conductor.
Wendy went emphasis on parade. I went emphasis on postal.
Yeah, definitely. I went emphasis on player count. I like Mike's point a lot, right? The idea of once again, we kind of talk about Eldritch Horror, can play 8, has components and rules for 8.
Should not play 8.
Right.
I feel like the more I've played games and the longer I've been a gamer, or just maybe the more I've had actual responsibility in life, the more I need to play within the optimal player count, because games can go way longer if the player count is just crazy,
I remember when we were new to Dominion and we'd go over to Chris's family's house for dinner, we would want to play 5 or 6 players Dominion.
Yeah.
And so we would combine 2 sets and we'd make it happen. And there were multiple times where it was a mistake.
Right.
Where, like, I remember Torturer. The first time we were introduced to the Torturer card, which is like discard 3 cards from your hand. Everybody grabbed one, and then every single person played it. And so everyone had no cards. It was ridiculous.
So you guys broke the game.
We broke the game. We
Yeah.
broke the game. We literally tortured the game to death.
To be fair, maybe not the best decision in a 6-player game, but you don't know those things.
But we needed games that would fit that amount because that's what we had people-wise.
I
So I
always
get why
remember-
it exists.
I always remember like talking about, okay, Tom talks a lot about like, oh, if I have this many people, I want to split up. But when you're in a group and like you invite people over, a lot of times it's like, well, I want to play with all the people I invited over. So you get into those situations where you're like, well, we could play 6. It's like, well, you probably shouldn't play 6. Maybe play a party game instead,
Yeah.
Right. And I get that. And I get that some groups have a 5-player count. Like I was my Wednesday night game group back in Vegas. There were often 5 of us there.
And we're often playing a Lacerda game.
Escape Plan, not the worst, right? It worked for it, but like that was like one of our go-tos for that reason. Oh, there's 5 of us. We want to play something crunchier. Well, we can make this one work. And I get that. I never fault a company for wanting to. Expeditions, the new Stonemaier game that just came out, goes up to 5. That's one of the Stonemaier game's tenets, is that they want a good range of player count. But good night. You played it at 5.
There's a lot.
You could be honest about it.
It was really rough. It was really long, and we didn't finish it. Like, it was really long, and you ran out of stuff to do. Like, we ran out of stuff. Like, literally, the things on the board don't increase with higher player counts. So there's plenty when it's 2-3 players, and there's just not enough when there's 5.
Yeah, and so, for those people, hopefully they walked away, hopefully they walked away saying, oh, okay, like maybe I'll try this again later. But I bet, some of them might not come back to Expeditions because they think that 5-player experience is going to be representative of the game at 2 or 3 players.
Right, yeah.
Well, one of the guys bought the game. It was his copy, so I hope he liked it enough. He had the fancy metal miniatures and everything.
I do love the feature that Board Game Geek has, like the like audience voted like best player count, because it's important. Because I mean, even the publisher could have like say, oh, this should be played with this or this should be played with that. But I like the fact that like people go in can actually like vote and be like, oh, this is a recommended player count from like a bunch of people. Like recommend you played at this.
I appreciate sometimes publishers will put on the box like 2-player variant, and I appreciate that because that's different. You're not saying it's a 2-player game. You're saying there's a variant for 2 players.
Right.
So expect something different.
It would be nice if there was like an accepted way for a publisher to put like this game plays 1 to 6 players, like 5 like on the box, like 5 and 6 not recommended for your first play or something.
Or ideal player count 2 to 3.
Yeah, that would be neat, right? But I think Roy's point of Board Game Geek has that resource on it. It's definitely underutilized. If everyone watching this video right now went to some of your favorite games and voted on some of those would recommend, best at, and would not recommend at player counts, the more people that submit and vote on those things, the more useful information we would have.
Right,
so, so it'd be nice if there's a little bit more of a push to do that. Especially for newer, hotter games that are coming out.
And it's normally hard for them to like make games that work at like a huge, wide range of player count in general. Most things are gonna have like a really good sweet spot, and also that sweet spot might be based on taste. Some people don't mind downtime as much. I mean, some people like want things to be certain ways, and then to switch it all the way into like, there's the solo community wants everything to have that 1 on it. Some games it's like, it's really hard to replicate this game in a good way at 1 player,
Someone jokingly put in the chat, Monopoly for 1.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that, a David Turksey bot for Monopoly. If he rolls
go directly to jail.
If it rolls a 7, here's its branching paths of decisions.
It builds a hotel.
Oh my goodness. I think Monopoly for 1 would just be a post-apocalyptic kind of scenario. Like everything's destroyed, everyone's dead but you. You have it all. It's an insta-win.
Monopoly for 1.
There you go.
You own all the property.
And then you tax yourself.
Taxes! You tax the mutant mice.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming out to this episode 481 of Board Game Breakfast.
Yes.
With some new change-ups and stuff. Hope you enjoyed it, and leave your comments below if you have any thoughts on how it goes. We're tweaking and adjusting things, but We're going to call this one a raging success. Put that one in the books. Today, it is Wednesday, not the usual Monday. So in 2 weeks from now, we will be back with Board Game Breakfast on a Monday.
Right.
We promise you, we swear to you, that's actually the Monday of the Summer Spectacular. So we're kicking that off. Later today at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. Eastern Time is going to be crowd surfing. So make sure to come back for that. There's a few other things going up today, including Roy's next segment of the top 100 games of all time.
So many games.
So plenty more to come back to this week. Until then, my name is Chris Yee.
I'm Roy Kennedy.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
Have fun gaming.